Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Adayine. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Shilakantanathalaye. Shilakantanathalaye. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsinga. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsinga. Kahi Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga. Kahi Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga. Narsingamadhim Sharanam Prapati. Narsingamadhim Sharanam Prapati. Narsingamadhim Sharanam Prapati. Narsingamadhim Sharanam Prapati. Savakara Kamala Vare Latham Adbhuta Shringara Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Savakara Kamala Vare Latham Adbhuta Shringara Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Savakara Kamala Vare Latham Adbhuta Shringara Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubhinga Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Narasimhadev Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, how are you doing today?
Hi.
Welcome to our class on Bhagavad-gita. We started chapter 3 and I think we have been going pretty steadily there because we have come to chapter 18, verse number 18 now. So that's very, very good progress. So let's get going after these short prayers to the spiritual master. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Reading from chapter 3 of the Bhagavad-gita, and the text number is 18. So, in our previous verse, which we did, text number 17, sorry, not 18, I was one ahead. So in the previous verse, which was text number 16, Krishna had told Arjuna that one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, which is written in the Vedas, then one leads a life full of sin, living only for the satisfaction of the senses. Such a person lives in vain. So there's no there is no use, there's no point of his living here, right? Because in the previous verses, he has been talking about that Vedas were created, Yajna was created, Yajna was defined, and all of you should do the Yajna so that your desires will be fulfilled. So the previous verses, we were basically talking about karmakandi activities, and now we are talking about nishkam karma. So let's go and look at text number 17, which is our text for today. And let's get going here. Let me bring that up for you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we did that. One who takes pleasure in the self. We already did that last time, right? Yeah. The S, the self with the uppercase S. Yeah. So then he's here. He's talking about that to take pleasure in Krishna. So a person who's just taking pleasure in Krishna, and how can you take pleasure in Krishna? The only way that you can take pleasure in Krishna is to deny pleasures for yourself. Because if you try to enjoy yourself, then you get deviated from the path, right? So for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. So now let's go to the verse for today, which is verse number 18. And let's see what 18 has. Neva tassa krutenartho na krutene kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashayaha. So if at any point in time you want to find out the meaning of a Sanskrit word, and you have some idea about what that verse is. Now, I just wanted to check with you. Okay, there's something wrong with my screen today. Vashana Mataji says that I need to share, and I think I'm sharing the wrong screen with you all, right? There's something messed up with my screen system here today. So let me just do a new share here. Stop sharing and share desktop number 2. It had gone crazy earlier and would recognize desktop 2 as 1. Okay. Now what do you see? Do you see the right thing?
Can yeah,
yes. Okay, I can see Sadhana.
Yes, now we can see Mataji.
So yeah, so let's go to desktop number 2 here. And so what you can do, if you know the word, right, like how to spell it out in English, then what you can do is, and this is the best bona fide way of finding the meaning of the verse, is to go to Vedabase, right? And in the Vedabase, you go here. As soon as it comes up, there are some tools in this Vedabase. Okay, apart from the tools, there is this search, which is more important, and search also comes as part of the tools, I think. And here you can go and type the whatever word that you want to find the meaning of. For example, if we come to 318 and I want to understand the meaning of Kaschana, right? Kaschana. So I know how to write it. So if I come here to the search, I don't have to bother about diacritics. I can just type Kaschana, right? And I can search the site, or when I search the site, it's going to look for the word Kaschana everywhere, right? In the entire set of books that we have for Srila Prabhupada. Or you can say that, no, I'm looking for the precise meaning, where Prabhupada has given a meaning for the word Kaschana. So you click on the synonyms, right? And in the synonyms, you're saying, I want to search for the word Kaschana. So original is Kaschana. And then I say filter, and it should tell me, right? So Kaschana, and it's still giving the meaning of Kaschana. And as the words of the Sanskrit mean different in the different contexts, so you see the words are different, but in general, they are meaning the same. And here also, it is telling you in which verses it has been coded. So you can go to those verses and look at that, right? So Kaschana, some others, right? So this is one way of finding out the meaning. And other way of finding out the meaning is just go to Google, Google and ask, what is the meaning of Kaschana in, and in Hindi or in English and Sanskrit. Or you can also do a Sanskrit to English translation on Google and type the word Kaschana, and it'll tell you the meaning in English or Hindi or whatever language that you want to. So these are the ways in which you can find out whether there's a word is there. So when you're searching for the words, it's pretty cool whether you search for the word Kaschana or whether you search, if you are able to, Kaschana is also one word, right? So you see there is a Kaschana there. And I can also go and look for the word Kaschana, and here I'm giving the diacritics. So, and I can just do a filter, looking for the exact words, and then now it will go and look for the exact match there. It's going to give you the word Kaschana over there. Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that to you because it comes in handy when you're going to look at word meanings. Okay, so anybody has any questions, any difficulties in trying to find this out? Everybody's cool there? Okay. So neva tassa kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashrayaha. Neva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashrayaha. Na, never, eva, certainly, tasya, his, kritena, by discharge of duty, artha, purpose, na, nor, akritena, without discharge of duty, iha, in this world, iha means here, kaschana, whatever, na, never, cha, and, asya, of him, sarvabhuteshu, among all the living beings, kaschit, any, artha, purpose, vyapashrayaha, taking shelter of. So what's the meaning of Kaschana? Can you take out your notepads and tell me?
Whatever.
Whatever. Right, Kaschana means whatever. Okay. And what is Kritena? Kritena.
By discharge of duty.
Kritena. Anybody with thimble fingers? Sarina Anandi Mataji says.
By discharge of
Kritena. Kritena. I'm looking for Kritena. Discharge of duty. Yeah. And what will be akritena?
Without discharge of duty.
What will be if you add to a word, what happens? It becomes without discharge. Yeah. Okay. So let's go and look at the translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on other living beings. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A self-realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty save and accept activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as will be explained in the following verses. A Krishna conscious person does not take shelter of any person, man, or demigod. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. Short verse, and let me stop sharing, and I want you to reflect what your thoughts are on what we have read so far. So stopping to share here, and let's see. I think you can unmute yourself, or you want to raise your hand, you can raise your hand. What do you think of this? Sounds very good.
Yeah,
All right, Sadhana Mataji, can you unmute yourself? Or
yeah, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah. I muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Right. So it says he has no purpose, right? In the purport, it says that he has no purpose. Is that correct? No.
It doesn't say.
Oh,
it doesn't.
Okay. I guess she was reading it. So I'm like, so when you don't have any obligation or no discharge of duty except Krishna consciousness, does it, like, how is that person, what drives their motivation is only Krishna consciousness, but isn't that still a purpose? Like, is that not a goal or a?
It is.
You're still discharging your duty, really, aren't you, in some ways?
Absolutely.
By it.
Right. The focus changes, and Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, right? And when we hear about pure devotional service, so when we say what is pure devotional service, couple of things are there. Anya abhilashita shunyam. So anya abhilashata. Abhilasha means desires. An is any other desire. Shunyam is zero. So it has no other desire. So when a person is doing pure devotional service, he has no other material desires. Okay? Anyabhlashita shunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam. And he is devoid from karmakandi activities. Karmakandi, which we have been reading all in these previous verses. You want this? Okay, go demigod, go yajna, like that, right? So those who are doing karmakandi activities, and also those who are doing jnana kandi activities. So why Gyan Kandi activities? Why we are saying Jnana Karmadi Anavritam? They are devoid of Gyan and Karmakandi activities, or mental speculation. So why mental speculation? A person is supposed to be speculating on God after all, right? So why is that said? Do not do that, right? So what happens with the Gyanis is that the Gyanis, they go and they don't think, number one, Gyanis are impersonalists. They don't think of the Lord as a person. What they actually think, they are aware, they're smart, they're Gyanis, they're intelligent people. So they have figured it out that there is something higher that is controlling this world, because we're not able to control it, at least at this point, right? Like Dhruv Maharaj was a young boy, and he was in that situation where his father was the king and a very prosperous and unrivaled king. And Dhruv Maharaj was although he was a son, but he was not the favorite son of the king. And he was a young boy, so he was not in a position to control his father, right? So what did he set out to get? He said, I want to have a kingdom better than my father. Then I'll be able to control. So we have got this because Mame Vansho Jiva Loke, we are parts and parcels of Krishna. And who is Krishna? Krishna is the supreme controller, right? He's the supreme controller. So because he's the supreme controller and I'm a part of him, so I also have this tendency to control, right? So the Gyanis have realized that, that there's something there, some control is happening. The sun is rising, it's setting, rains come, and floods come, tsunamis come, earthquakes come. I don't have any control over that. And they want that. So now they are raking their brains and then, speculating, understanding, doing all kinds of activities there with their material minds. And their approach and their mood in their activities is that through this pursuit, through this raking of my mental plane, raking over there, I will be able to reach a higher consciousness. So all these things are happening in this world because of there's some higher consciousness. And all that I have to do is to reach that higher consciousness, and that is why they say that impersonalists become Mayavadis. Why do they become Mayavadis? Because when you're saying there's a higher power, it's a higher consciousness, and I want to attain that consciousness. I want to become that consciousness. In other words, in a layman's language, I want to become God, because God is the supreme consciousness who's creating that, right? So when you're doing bhakti, bhakti says jnana karmadi anavritam. So it has to be devoid of that. And it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing for them to survive in their method, because they will try to raise the consciousness. They will come to the level where they realize the self with a small s. That is, I am a soul and I am not this body. So now they have cut off their connections with the material world. So they know that I am not this body when they realize the self, right? So when they're out of this body consciousness, where will they go? They have to go to something divine, but because they don't believe in any form or anything, so they will stop as soon as they see the effulgence of the Lord, right? And when we were talking about the planetary systems, we were talking about this universe, and we said that our universe is covered by layers of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. All these material elements are layered. It's a very thick layer. It is such a big layer that the diameter of the universe is 4 billion miles. So it's that big. So when he goes, and outside of that is all effulgence coming from Krishna. So as soon as they're out of this universe, the soul meets the effulgence and merges into it. And now soul cannot merge because Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita that soul doesn't change. Soul will never change, right? So how can a soul be merged and not merged, right? So soul always remains, doesn't lose its identity, right? Never was there a time when you and these kings did not exist. Never will there be a time when they will not exist. So like that. So they are, so they go and hang there, and they hang there. And because they have gotten over the material concepts, all the miseries that we have from the material body, because of the material body, right? Especially at an old age, back is hurting, knees are hurting, throat is all choked up, temperature is high, all those kind of things, the muscles are falling down and tired easily, all those are gone. So they think that that is happiness, right? And there they have nothing to do. What will you do? You're hanging there. There's all light around you. What are you going to do? So remember, one of the properties of the soul is that it's very active. So it has to do some work. It has to do some work, and now it's getting bored. It gets bored over there, and now it's seeking happiness. Why? Because Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna is full of happiness, and I'm a part and parcel of Krishna, so I will be seeking happiness. So when I'm seeking happiness, I don't get it there in the material world. And so now I try to see that, where can I find happiness? So I will remember that I used to get some happiness in the material world. So the soul will fall from there and come back to the material world. And guess what? Because of having done all these activities in the previous life, when the miseries hit him again, he remembers that miseries are because of material body, and let me get rid of this material body concept. So again, he will go in that route. Again, he'll rise to the Brahma Jyoti. Again, he will fall down. So that is why we say Upari Ada. So Upari Ada just doesn't mean that you are going up and down in the planetary system. You can always go all the way out to the spiritual, to the effulgence, and you can come back down here. Right? So pure devotional service is saying Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. It is devoid of both of them, right? So now so Anya Vilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishnanu. Anukulyena Krishna, it has to be favorable to Krishna, whatever activities you do. For example, there are 9 ways in which you can do devotional service. One of them is Smaranam, and that is to think about Krishna, right? So Kansa used to think about Krishna all the time, right? Ravana used to think about Vishnu all the time, but they were not thinking favorably. So they are not doing devotional service. It has to be anukulyana. It has to be favorable to Krishna. Jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulyana krishnanu Shilanam bhakti uttama. Shilanam means there has got to be activity. Some activity has to be done. Okay? So in this verse, Krishna is just saying that you are not obligated to do that. Right? So sometimes you see in a family where there's a mother, a father, the son, then the son gets married and brings in a very nice daughter-in-law. And the daughter-in-law tells to the mother-in-law that you are old now. And so please don't cook in the kitchen. I will take care of all that, right? Now the mother-in-law who's cooked all the time, she's sitting on one side. Unless she has Bhagavatam to read, she'll get bored. And once in a while, they will come and they will still do some work. Why? Because the tendency to work is still there. So similarly, with the soul also, Krishna is saying in this verse that, you have no purpose to fulfill, and has no purpose. So the word purpose, Sadhana Mataji, was not in the purport, it was in the translation, right?
Oh, okay.
So he's saying, so he has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties.
Right.
So when he's saying prescribed duties, how do we look at prescribed duties? Either we look at the prescribed material duties or we look at the prescribed spiritual duties. Prescribed spiritual duties are the same for everybody. You have to do devotional service to Krishna. Prescribed material duties will be different, right? Depending on what varna, what ashram, where, country, all that, so you're there. So he's saying that you do not have any prescribed duties, any purpose. So that is when you are self-realized, when you have become a self-realized soul, right? Whether you do any work or whether you don't do any work, right? You won't serve any material purpose out of that, right? So you don't have to do it. So this is a very interesting point that Krishna is saying, because then everybody will say, okay, now let's get self-realized and I'll sit back, relax, and enjoy the friendly skies, as they say, right? So, and then in the subsequent verses, Krishna is going to explain why we should still work. Right? Otherwise, like when we have, like, what do you think are the duties of a son? Prescribed duties of a son. A son is born, and what do you think are his prescribed duties?
He takes care of them when they become old, and then at the end he does our culture says that he does the end of the rituals and everything, and when the body leaves the body.
So very good. So his duty is to take care of his parents. Does he have to take care of his family?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Family and parents.
Right? And then he has to take care of maybe a little bit of the place where he's living, the society where he's living. He has to make some nice, position, something, right? And then of course, when the parents die, he has to take care of all that. So there are some duties and there are some certain obligations that we know that people are supposed to do, right? But there's a verse in Bhagavatam which says, Devarshi bhuta praminam pritinam nakin karonayam vinicha sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parivritta kartum So he says, we have got a whole list of people to whom we are debted and we are supposed to do, we have obligated, we have duties to perform. And so they start from the demigods because we already read. Demigods are doing so many things for us, right? In the previous verses. So we have got a debt for that. And we don't realize it. We don't realize it because they are just silently watching and they are on a different plane, so we can't see them. But we use the facilities that they provide us. Like if you use electricity and if you don't pay the bill, then soon you will see the electricity department come to your home, right? The collection agency will come after you. So they will come after you because you have a debt. Now, with respect to the demigods, because we don't see them, nobody is giving us that knowledge to understand that we also owe it to them. Now imagine when there is winter and people complain, oh, it's become so cold, I had to turn the heater on, and these kids, they open the door all the time, my electricity bill is going up. So for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 5-bedroom house that we have, or you have, to heating it up for a few months in the winter and we start complaining it. So what about the sun that heats up the whole, at least the band of the universe? The sun is illuminating and heating it, right? Definitely heats up this planet, right? And because of the heat from the sun, so many things happen, right? The vitamin D that you get, so many things are there. So don't we owe anything to the person who is managing this sunshine for us? We do owe that. And so we are supposed to get rid of that debt. But this verse that I recited from the 5th canto, it's saying that if you, 5th or 11, I'm forgetting, but what it is saying is that if you have taken shelter of Mukunda, Mukunda is Krishna, who gives liberation, So if you have taken the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna is going to give liberation, then you are rid of all the debts you had for the demigods, for the king, for your parents, for the general people that are there in your life. You are absolved of all those duties because you got a higher duty. Like if you look at Srila Prabhupada, right? When Srila Prabhupada was married, he had a duty to take care of his wife and his sons, right? But of course, he was a self-realized soul, and for a greater cause, he didn't have any obligations to do or not to do, right? So he left, he took sannyas, and then he came, of all the places, he came to America to preach Krishna consciousness, higher purpose. So there was no need for him. He was already there in America. There were plenty of ways in which he could have eaten the food. He could have also prepared simple food. He's a sannyasi. He could have lived with simple food, but he made gulab jamuns and samosas, right? He was not obligated to cook all that, but he cooked. He's at that level where it doesn't matter, to him. All that he's supposed to do when he's in that state is he's working for Krishna. And that state of self-realization, when we say your self-realization, so you're saying, I realize. Now, we have self-realization many times in our lives, right? We say, oh, what a fool I was. Or we do some nice work in the office. We are sitting in our cube and we nicely say, oh, I'm so smart. So we have self-realization all the time. But we're not talking about that self-realization. We are talking about the fact that I realize that I'm the soul. Most of the people will translate self-realization to mean that you realize that you are the soul. But that is not what is self-realization. Right? And that is why, not the end of the realization that you're supposed to have. Yeah, you're Atma, so what? Now what? You're still, you still don't know where to go. What am I supposed to do? Right? And so the true realization that happens is when you realize what is your relationship with Krishna. And the real realization is that when you realize that you are a servant of Krishna. So when you are a servant of Krishna, then you will do everything that Krishna will want you to do. Right? When you realize, this is what I am, he's my master. And I told you this story I think to you I told, or somewhere else I told this story, and that is that there was this man who was a cook of a rich person. And so one day he went and cooked the food, and he gave him that food to the master. And the master said, Golu. The servant's name was Golu. So he said, Golu, come here. And what do you think about this eggplant? So he said, eggplant. So he said, Master, what do you think about eggplant? He said, the master said, I like eggplant a lot. He said, I also like it. It's very good. Look at the nice color. And look at what are the things that you can do with eggplant, right? You can make bhaji, you can mix it with potatoes, you can eat it, you can make bagan bharta, like that. You know, there's so many things that you can do with eggplant. It's got a lot of iron in it, so blood will grow, and so on and so forth. So then the master says, yeah, that's true, but I've heard that, you know, it causes a lot of acidity in your body. And then he says, yes, master, it causes acidity. Then you will be like, you know, all the time you'll be just, you know, rubbing your chest. It creates so much of acidity. You'll drink water, you'll have no relief, so on and so forth. So next day again, Golu cooked something. And he brought the same thing to, someone is not getting enough of it. So they are listening to it again on a different channel. I like it. So they, when such disasters happen, right? When you realize that one of your device has gone bonkers and is saying something, it could be something other than my lecture also. At that time, the best remedy, see, like what happens is that whenever you feel that there is a fire happening, electrical fire happening in the kitchen, what do? You don't run into the kitchen, you run to where the main fuse of the house is and you switch it off. Similarly, whenever this disaster occurs to you, first thing that you do is mute yourself. That will immediately cut the problem. And then you have time to deal with whatever is happening in your device, like that. And remember, this is applicable also to devotional service, this method. First cut off the bad influence, like that. So anyway, so I was thinking, the next day he brings something else. And then he says it is radish or something like that. So he cooks some radish and then asks then again the servant asks him, like, you know, what do you think about this? And again he says, no, you tell me, what do you think about that? So he says, I think it's very nice. I mean, you know, it's a white color thing and with these rye pieces and the hara dhania, it looks such a nice combination and all that. So he said, yeah, it's a fantastic thing and it's full of iodine and, you know, potassium or whatever they're supposed to give. And then the master then says that but it produces a lot of gas in your body. He says, yeah, you know, it's so bad, and it bloats, and then it gives smell out of your mouth, and it's so bad. So then the next day comes, and then the doctor says, then the master says, this day it is aloo. Potatoes, he has cooked potatoes. So master again asks, like, you know, so what do you think, Golu, about potatoes? So Golu says, master, you tell me about potatoes. So the master says that, you know, every day I ask you for your opinion and you are telling me that, you know, you're not telling me anything. You ask me the question and you just repeat whatever I'm saying. I'm asking you for my opinion. Why didn't you say that? So then Golu folds his hands and he goes and he turns to his master and he says that neither the eggplant nor the radish nor this potato give me my pay. You are the one who pays for me. That is why I will always say and I will always do whatever you want. Because this Golu has realized his relationship with the master. So as soon as we realize our relationship with Krishna and we realize that we are Krishna's Golu, then we will do whatever Krishna wants us to do. Right? So our Arjuna, right? What did you say? Na yotsyami iti uktva, right? Maine ladunga. I will not fight. Chapter 2. And then Krishna gives him, you know, dosage in the form of 15 chapters till we come to the 18th. And then Arjuna says, Karishyami tava vacha. Whatever you are saying, I will do. What was the difference? In the beginning, when Arjuna was saying, I will not fight, then he was self-centered, selfish. He was thinking purely about himself in the center, and then other things were happening around him, right? One was my parents or my grandparents and my relatives. One, how will I, number two, how will I enjoy if they are dead? And then, okay, I'm the king, I'm a prince, and then I have got these obligations, and what will happen to the communal projects and this and this and that. So Arjuna was the center. And whenever you are in the center, then there is always a fear. When you're doing things for somebody else, there is no fear. Like that, right? So that same Arjuna, later on in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, becomes conscious of his relationship with Krishna when he sees the universal form of the Lord, right? He understands and he says, oh my goodness, I was calling him Hey Sakha, so I was not supposed to, Hey Yadav, Hey Sakheti, I was calling you all that, I was not supposed to say that. He realizes his relationship with Krishna, and that relationship evolves to the other subsequent chapters when Krishna tells him about Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakta Bhakta does, right? Mayeva mana adhatsvat. Always focuses his attention on Krishna. And so the same Arjuna, when he becomes Krishna conscious, he becomes conscious that there is something like Krishna. And real Krishna consciousness is just this, that you do what Krishna wants you to do. So if Krishna says that, that you should kill, then you kill. And if Krishna says don't kill, then don't kill. So if Krishna is saying patram pushpam phalam toyam, so don't go and kill anybody and eat them. Like that. So when you reach that particular stage where you are self-realized and there are material activities to be done, it is so interesting that while we are in this material world, and there are so many material obligations. For example, somebody died, some relative dies. You are obligated to go to their homes, right? To offer your condolences. What if there is something else which was Krishna conscious activity that was to be done at the same time? Are you going to give up the Krishna conscious activity and take care of your worldly activities, or what are you going to do? Right? Most of us will take care of the worldly activities because we are so attached to the worldly concept of worldly things. And we see this story in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all his, Parshadas, the close associates of him, are they all having kirtan in Shiva's Angan, Shiva's home. And Shiva's son dies. And so he knows, father knows, because he sees the women crying. So he knows that his son has died, but he doesn't want to break the kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he keeps quiet. So you see, now for us who are in the material plane, that might appear to be a very horrible thing to do, and what a heartless father that he is. But the reality is that when you reach that higher stage of life, that is when you go beyond the material and then you look at it. Right? For example, when I was young, and I don't know if Vidyavati Mataji is here or not, she's here. When we were young, I remember there was there used to be those locks that you click and they would close, right? And then there would be a key and you would open it. So I don't know what they were called, but anyway. So one day what we did, we siblings, one afternoon when our parents were sleeping, we opened that lock, we pried that lock open. And as soon as we were able to pry it open, all kinds of springs came out of it. And so for the first time in my life, I found a spring. And it was like the best treasure that I had. But because I was the youngest at that time, nobody would allow me to play with it for a long time. So they took it away. And all that I would think of was, when can I break open a lock by myself and get that spring out of it? Because that spring was the best thing in my life, at that time. Now, as I grew up, started looking at all that, like spring, yeah, it's nothing, So as your consciousness evolves and goes to a higher level, the lower level things, then you realize that it is absolutely lower. Right? And it's it's actually in Shishtastakam, right? The 8 verses that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has left for us. He says in those verses that where he's talking about, even Yuga Yitam Nimishena. So he says even a nimish, which is a fraction of a second, appears to be like 1 yuga to me, right? So even if that appears to be like 1 yuga to me, and this whole world, right? This whole world around me appears shunya, appears to be 0. Why? Because of the virabhava. Do we have virabhava in our class today? Okay, so virabhava, we're talking about you. I don't think she's there, is she? Okay, maybe mine doesn't so. No. Anyway, so virabhava, because of the virabhava, the feeling of separation, here's a very interesting thing, and which will explain this verse, because this verse that we're reading today has to be read in conjunction with this Shikshastra verse. And that is, he says that because you are not there, this whole material world appears to be shunya, useless. Okay? And now I'm going to ask you a question. That after the Lord appears in front of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was himself the Lord, but anyway, suppose Lord Krishna appears in front of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how will the world appear to him at that time, this material world? Originally, he's saying that it appears to be shunya, nothing. Right. And so after the Lord appears in front of him, how will this material world appear to him?
Limitless, Mataji.
Limitless. Beautiful.
Unlimited.
Limited. Shunya. Again, it is shunya. See, originally what happens, right? A boyfriend has gone, and you're going to a party all alone. Your husband is in another town. You have been invited to a wedding. You go there, you're participating in the wedding, but you're missing your dear one so much that nothing. I don't know why people are doing it. I don't know why they're eating. Why are they laughing? I don't want to laugh. I'm so much in viraha bhava. It's feeling separation from Krishna. So, but when Krishna will appear, right? When Krishna will appear in front of you, and then you look at the material world, again, the material world is going to look like a useless thing to you, because in front of you is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is exactly what happened to Dhruv Maharaj, who went to get a kingdom better than his father. But when he sees the Krishna Garma in front of him, what does he say? I don't want anything. I was asking for pieces of glass, right? So as long as you are in this material world, all these material obligations might appear to be a very important thing in your life. But the moment you get out of this bodily concept, and then you say, oh, son dying, so what does it mean, son, right? What does it mean, my son? There's no such thing as my son, right? It's just a bodily thing. So they are at that higher plane. So when they are at that higher plane, it doesn't matter whether they do their work or they don't do their work, because they are not in this plane at all, right? If a person from a different country comes to India, right? Somebody from, say, name a country, give me a country. Austria. Okay. Somebody from Austria comes to India on Ekadashi, and he doesn't keep Ekadashi fast. Right? What can we say, right? He doesn't belong here. So similarly, when you are self-realized, you realize that I don't belong here. So these rules, etc., it's okay. So that's what Krishna is saying, that it really doesn't matter whether you do it or whether you don't do it, because whatever you're doing is, not real in the sense that it is material like that. Parshana Mataji.
Yes, Mataji,
I have a little small doubt in this. A self-realized soul, once the person is realized, he realizes that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the rest of the material things have no purpose in life. And you see, when some, like you see, you said that when any other activity comes in front of you out of obligation, when you have to do, you see, then at that time uh, you should perform that duty, or you should just neglect it and carry on with your own self, with your own realization, with your God, and keep reading. Suppose you are reading, and you see, that way, how it should be, how should we go about it?
It depends. It depends on the other party. From this verse, it doesn't matter whether you did this, whether you do it or not do it, it doesn't matter. Whether you perform that duty or don't perform that duty, right? However, in the subsequent verses, Krishna is going to talk about why you should still perform it. And one of the reasons will be that a Vaishnava will perform the duty. He won't be attached to the fact that he's doing that duty, right? He won't be attached, but he will do it. Like, for example, if a Vaishnava is self-realized and wife wants to be taken to the mall, he will take her to the mall, but his mind won't be in the mall. As they are driving to the mall, he will not be thinking, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to buy this, where is my shopping list, where is my this, where is my that. He'll just do it because the wife wants to go. Once and twice he'll do it. However, he should not be going to the mall all the time to the detriment of his own devotional service. It's like, Abhito, all the time a wife is taking me to the mall, what should I do? Shraddha Mataji told me, you take, right? But you have to remember, your devotional practices come on a higher priority. So you have to strike that balance. Vaishnav Mataji, does that solve?
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. In fact, Mataji, the other day I heard Guru Maharaj's lecture, that short lecture which comes. In that, somebody gave the realization, and I really liked it, and I noted it down. Let the bhajan on. Do it every day. Don't let anybody get in your way. And this is the let the bhajan go on. Second is, do it every day. Don't let anything get in your way. And this is the secret of success. So I really like these points. And I was just correlating both the things here, that don't let anything come in your way when the self-realization is your purpose in life. That time, just forget about the things which are side by line. You have to do.
Yeah. And there are so many other nuances also to that. There is Vaishnava etiquette also, and Guru Maharaj tells about that story when he was in Vrindavan. He had gone to walk some miles and gone to a friend's place, and you know what it means to walk on the streets of Vrindavan. You get thirsty, right? So anyway, when he reached there, the servant said that master is praying. And anyway, the servant asked him to sit down, went inside, told the master that Vaishya Prabhu has come. And then that person, his godbrother, he stopped the puja that he was doing, came outside, asked them to sit down, gave them something to drink and to, read. And then he went back and did his devotional service. So you see, we don't have to literally say, my bhajan has to go on, means I'll never press the pause button. So sometimes you have to press the pause also on the bhajan to be going on. But you see, fulfilling your obligations. See, he did that. The bhajan went on. He did not say that because my friend has come, so today no bhajan. He did not say that, right? So he did whatever was the appropriate thing for him to do at that time, and then he continued like that. Sadhana Mataji, is that a hand for a second question, or is that an old?
Yeah, no, it's a new hand. So actually, the question was along the same lines that if you're given a choice between having to do something which is your duty in the material world, at the same time as a conflict with what you've got to do spiritually, and I think you answered it, but it's never clear cut that you can't drop things. I think I like to think of it as if we're attending to something that's material, we could still be in the right consciousness and be performing both, if you like, right? it's not like one or the other, because otherwise, that until we become a full-time sannyasi, that would be really difficult, because especially for ladies, because we have families, so it's not something that's there. So
yeah, that is true. That is very true. But sometimes we also have to assert ourselves and kind of set the expectations of the family. Because if you don't set the expectation, and this is not only for devotional service, by the way, this is, and we ladies always feel this problem, and that is that we don't set our boundaries with the family, and they kind of walk all over us. I want this, I want that, where are my pajamas? I can't find the scissors. Mom, get it. Right? They will constantly be asking mom for that. So mom is not able to have her own personal time for anything. She wants to sit down with the new, they don't get it. Right?
I'm talking about more serious things. There are obligations that you do because, somebody's hurt, somebody's needs to be taken to the hospital. I mean, we're talking about a lot of other things, not sort of mundane stuff, right? Like, yes. Or even like attending, like the example you gave was like going to a funeral or somebody dies, even though it might not be something I do, but because that aunt or uncle was close to me, I would follow and be respectful and attend, because they were a soul that I loved, and that would still be valid, because you still, from a Krishna conscious person level, you still go there to pray and attend and give your prayers, right? So these things are still just, I mean, I would still see that as a Krishna conscious act, not like I'm trying to do one or the other all the time. I'm just saying, I think they dovetail. If you wanted to dovetail, you can make it.
And yeah, you can. And Keshav Bharati Maharaj came out and back from sannyas to be with his mother to take care of her, because there was nobody to take care of her. And the good thing for that was that she became Krishna conscious by Lava Matra Sarva Shastra Khaya. And Astha, last one, because today is Thursday, we have a meeting, right? Starts at 8 o'clock. But go ahead, Astha. Ask.
Ji Mataji, Hare Krishna everyone. So Mataji, on the same along the same line, I would just wanted to add one point, that we can also have the interpretation of saying that of the same thing as a, like, okay, if it is trying to say whatever comes in your life, it should not deviate you from the goal of your life, that is the Krishna. So whatever it comes, maybe it could be like you are seeing some more material enjoyment and something, but it should not come in way of your Krishna consciousness. Not just like that you cannot do it, it's just that it should not come in a way that you forget that, okay, let's do this, and just forget about the bhakti and Krishna. And so I think that is also we can say for this.
Right. Yes, good. Garima, we have a few minutes. Is that an old hand, new hand? If you're done with your question, lower your hand.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. I have a realization. I really like the story which you said, and that only you pay me, so I am indebted to you, and I not potato, not eggplant pays me. So it is really very touching and a life lesson. Daily I can remind myself that no one else is paying. I should just be Krishna's servant.
Yeah, but it's with gratitude. Yeah, it begins with gratitude.
Thank you, Mataji.
Alrighty, dear devotees, sadly we have to leave, but we'll have the Srimad Bhagavatam class, Krishna willing, tomorrow. We'll continue on with the prayers of Queen Kunti. But for today, I'll take your leave. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Patittanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Thank you, Shraddha Mataji.
Thank you, Shraddha Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.